On the news, Department of State Services rearrest embattled CBN Governor Godwin Emefiele after face-off with prison officials. Court dismisses ASU's suit, validates Konwa and NAMDA as trade unions. And FCTA begins mass vaccination of cattle against anthrax, targets 1 million in 4 weeks. Welcome to News Now on TV 360 Nigeria. I am Simisola Adigun. Operators of the Department of State Services DSS have rearrested the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, Godwin Emefiele, after a tussle with officials of the Nigerian Correctional Service. Emefiele's rearrest occurred on the premises of a federal high court in Lagos, sitting in Ikoyi, after Justice Nicholas Owebo admitted the embattled and suspended Apex Bank chief to bail in a sum of 20 million naira. Our correspondent, Mary Kano, tells us more in this report.
Emefiele arrives at the premises of the Federal High Court in Lagos, sitting in Ikoyi, in the company of the Department of State Services DSS operatives in a Hilux vehicle to face charges filed against him by the federal government. Ruling that the government failed to provide any facts to support its claim that Emefiele was a flight risk, the judge granted him bail.
Emefiele has had his day in court. He was arraigned today, this morning, and he has been granted bail graciously by his lordship. They arraigned him on a 2-count charge, very ridiculous charge, bordering on illegal possession of firearms. Gentlemen of the press, if you know the firearm that we are talking about, it is the kind of gun that the likes of Christopher Columbus and Mungo Park used during their days. This is the kind of gun that the SSS exhibited in their proof of evidence. This is how low that organization has turned itself to be. Ladies and gentlemen, but the good news is that Godwin Emefiele has been granted bail by the court on very liberal terms. Very liberal terms, and as we speak today, he is about to perfect the bail conditions.
Court granted bail to him, and we further applied bail on stringent terms. And we further applied to the court that pending when we will satisfy the conditions of bail, that custody should move from the hands of the DSS to the Nigerian Correctional Service. The court saw wisdom in that, because that is how we will know whether there is a desire to obey court order, whether the rule of law reigns supreme in Nigeria.
Despite the judge's order that Emefiele be remanded at a correctional center pending the fulfillment of the bail conditions, drama ensued at the court premises as the secret police and prison officials clashed over the agency to take custody of the embattled Apex Bank chief.
We want to call on the DSS Director General to hide his face in shame and come out and publicly apologize to Emefiele for defaming his reputation. The Director General of DSS should hide his face in shame and come out and publicly apologize to Emefiele for defaming his reputation. He filed an expert application on the 7th of December 2022 that Emefiele is a terrorist and that he committed some financial crime of national security dimension. Now they have only succeeded in charging him for possession of firearms. That means he deceived the entire country, he misled the entire world, he labeled Emefiele a terrorist. He has damaged his reputation.
Amid the clash, Emefiele's lawyers reluctantly allowed the DSS to disobey court orders and take custody of their client to avoid a gun battle. At exactly 3 p.m., DSS operators left the suspended CBN governor out of the courtroom into their waiting vehicle. The case has been adjourned to the 14th of November for trial. Mary Kanu, TV 360, Nigeria.
Meanwhile, the tussle that ensued shortly after bail was granted to the suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, has been described as a slap on the face of Nigeria's judiciary. In an earlier interview with TV360 Nigeria, legal expert Evan Tufeli said the federal government charging Emefiele to court on the grounds of illegal possession of firearms seemed as an afterthought with political undertone, adding that as a Nigerian, Emefiele's rights and privileges should not be trampled upon.
Well, the DSS have said it is because of the possession of firearms, illegal possession of firearms. That is the reason why they are prosecuting him. I mean, Emefiele. But from all indication, this issue of possession of illegal firearms, for me, it looks like an afterthought. But remember that the accusations and allegations before now were that he was financing terrorism and that other trump-up charges that the DSS came up with. But when it was time, when the court now ruled that they should release him or charge him to court because they have kept him in detention for too long, that is when they now came up with this possession of illegal firearms. And I think the DSS is making a mockery of itself. How about all the allegations that they talked about before? What has happened to those allegations? They are not supposed to rearrest him, having granted him bail, except they are coming up with a different offense, that perhaps he committed another offense, for which the issue have been overflowed as I see it. The DSS will need to come clean as exactly what they are chasing this man for. In as much as we are not all pleased with his performance at the CBN, it still does not mean that he should be maltreated. He's a citizen of the country. He has all the rights and privileges that are accrue to every Nigerian. The DSS need to act in a very professional way. If you rearrest him, on what ground are you rearresting him for? The truth is that they will need to act as a professional body that they are and not begin to act based on the whims and caprices of politicians who possibly are influencing their decisions to take certain actions against a citizen of the Federal Republic of Nigeria.
Still on the judiciary, the president of the National Industrial Court, Abuja, Justice Benedict Kanyip, has dismissed a suit filed by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, challenging the registration of the Congress of University Academics, CONUA, and the Nigeria Association of Medical and Dental Academics, NAMDA, as trade unions by the federal government. Delivering judgment on Tuesday, Justice Kanyip held that Section 27 of the Trade Union Act allows for more than one trade union in employment, adding that the section does not depict trade monopoly. The court held that the then Minister of Labour, Chris Ngige, and the Registrar of Trade Union had the right to register NAMDA and CONUA to coexist with ASU. The court further held that ASU did not present any evidence before it to show the complete registration of CONUA and NAMDA when it filed the suit. All reliefs sought by ASU were refused and the suit accordingly dismissed. To health matters now, the Agricultural and Rural Development Secretariat of the Federal Capital Territory Administration, FCTA, has begun a mass vaccination of cattle to curb the spread of anthrax disease in the capital city. Acting Secretary of the Secretariat, Ishaq Sadiq, inaugurated the exercise in Paikon Kore Grazer Reserve in Gwagwalada Area Council, Abuja. Sadiq said the mass vaccination exercise would last for 4 weeks and is targeting at least 1 million cattle across the 6 area councils of the FCT. He added that the move became necessary following the confirmation of the disease in Niger State, one of the states bordering the FCT.
Anthrax can be used for both biocrime and bioterrorism, because biocrime, yes, it affects a few number of people in a localized community. Then when it's affecting the mass, at that point it's terrorism, right? And the reason, like citing sometime in September, October in 2001, there was cases of anthrax be used as a bioweapon in the United States. Since we know anthrax is a bacterial infection, yes, at the early phase, it can be treated, right? There are antibiotics that can be used that are effective. But the thing about anthrax is that it's not just the organism itself. We also have the exotoxins. So even if you get rid of the organism, the exotoxins is another is a major problem, and it depends on the concentration of that exotoxin. That's what determines whether the person who's infected is going to survive it or not.
Following the federal government's recent suspension of green taxation on single-use plastics, environmentalists have kicked against the decision, cautioning that it would make Nigeria a dumping ground for plastic waste products. This reaction follows the recent announcement by the federal government suspending the green taxation, which imposed an excise tax on single-use plastics, including containers and bottles. The suspension is supposedly in line with the current administration's commitment to create a business-friendly environment. Our correspondent, Mary Kanu, tells us more.
Nigeria generates some 2.5 million tons of plastic waste annually, with consequences for aquatic biodiversity and plastic waste ending up in the streets, clogging drains and degrading soil quality. Rising from this, former President Muhammadu Buhari introduced the green tax made up of excise duty on single-use plastics as part of Nigeria's commitment to mitigate environmental degradation. But less than a month after his inauguration, President Bola Tinubu suspended a 10% green tax on single-use plastics, which he says is a policy that is unfavorable to businesses and households.
The green taxes, including the single-use plastics tax, that's the SUP, and the import adjustment levy on certain categories of vehicles require more consultation and a holistic approach to the country's net zero plan in a manner that does not impact the economy negatively.
This reversal of policy means that companies will be able to produce and market single-use plastics, but environmentalists have warned that the decision will make Nigeria a dumping ground for plastic waste products.
The thing is that single-use plastics produced, a lot of it is produced in Nigeria, and it's a very big problem. And so it should not just only be taxing the producers or those who use it. There should be a ban on single-use plastics. You cannot say because you want to support industry, then you support the degradation of the environment and something that is unhealthy for humans and for other living beings.
As a solution, the federal government has been called to revisit the suspension of green taxation while considering the environmental and health implications.
You understand the extent of the problem that plastics are even found in drinking water, that when you get to a restaurant, people are covering your food with plastic, wrapping a malapando and pounded yam with plastics, and these are not healthy at all. Unless we understand the great harm that we expose ourselves to, I don't think any other policy is going to help. So first is understanding. We have to educate ourselves that the level of waste from plastic is not even, recycling doesn't even solve the problem. Recycling just touches a small percentage. We have to move away from single-use plastics as soon as possible.
Despite the call for a review of the green tax, the presidency has said that there would be no further tax rises without wider consultations, and the Tinubu-led government will only pursue business-friendly policies. Mary Kanu, TV360, Nigeria.
We'll take a break here, but still to come, CBN raises interest rates to 18.75%. We'll have details of the story and others when we return.
Opinions are free, facts are sacred, but truth is universal.
How, in practical terms, can we, for instance, de-escalate the tension?
President must see himself as the President of the Federal Republic.
We know where the enemy is. 3 places. The Lake Chad Basin, the border area between Nigeria and Cameroon, and then the Sambisa Forest.
On Digi 360, we give you a complete dose of everything. Opinion, facts, and undiluted truth.
I hardly believe what politicians say in this part of the world.
A new Nigeria is possible, a future is possible.
We delve into the issues, dissect it so that you can understand it, and use it to take action.
I don't think there's any need for any governor to look for grant for ranching.
Digi 360, dissecting the issues.
Welcome back. Let's give you a rundown of our stories tonight. Operatives of the Department of State Services, DSS, have rearrested suspended governor of the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, Godwin Emefiele, after a tussle with officials of the Nigeria Correctional Service, NCS. Emefiele's rearrest occurred on the premises of a federal high court in Lagos, sitting in Ikoyi, after Justice Nicholas Owebo admitted they embattled and suspended Apex Bank chief to bail in the sum of 20 million naira. We also told you that the president of the National Industrial Court, Abuja, Justice Benedict Kanyib, has dismissed a suit filed by the Academic Staff Union of Universities, ASU, challenging the registration of the Congress of University Academics, CONUA, and the Nigeria Association of Medical and Dental Academics, NAMDA, as trade unions by the federal government. Delivering judgment on Tuesday, Justice Kanyib held that Section 27 of the Trade Union Act allows for more than one trade union in employment, adding that the section does not depict trade monopoly. All reliefs sought by ASU were refused and the suit accordingly dismissed. Now, just in case you missed any of our news bulletins or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria. On Facebook, we're at TV360 Online.
Hello? Yeah, I found your wallet in front of a supermarket. Meet me at Apple Junction. Yes, I'll be waiting for you.
Now we find out. 2 of us.
Thank you very much, officer. You know, it's surprising that men like you still exist in the police force.
Yes, so...
Oh, yes.
This is just a token of my appreciation.
Oh, no, you don't need to do this. We are only doing our job.
Thank you very much. God bless you.
You're welcome.
Now I know police is really my friend.
Yes.
Friend. Hey. Which came up with this one? I don't understand.
You know your problem. You are greedy. I'm a policeman who is doing his job. All forms of corruption in the force, not in my country.
Corruption not in my country.
Welcome again. Folashade Ogunrinde is now on standby with the latest in business. Over to you, Folashade.
Well, many thanks, Simisila. Welcome to Business News. The Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, has raised the monetary policy rate, MPR, which measures interest rate, from 18.5% to 18.75%. Acting CBN Governor Folashodun Shonubi announced this on Tuesday after the bank's Monetary Policy Committee meeting in Abuja. He said the moderate rate hike is to sustain effort at anchoring inflation expectations, narrow the negative real interest rate gap, and improve investor confidence. This is the first decision of the Monetary Committee since President Bola Tinubu's assumption of office on May 29, 2023, and also the first decision of the committee in about a decade without embattled Governor Emefiele, who was suspended as the governor of the Apex Bank on June 9, 2023. Vice President Kashim Shettima says Nigeria has mobilized over $500 million for innovative, profitable, equitable and sustainable food systems transformation initiative. The Vice President made the disclosure while chairing a high-level meeting on the first day of the UN Food Systems Summit, declared open in Rome, Italy by the United Nations Secretary General Antonio Guterres. Shettima said the mobilized funds will be used for innovation finance for food system transformation, development of Nigeria's agro-value chain and special agro-industrial processing zones programs.
Well, our government is barely 2 months old, and President Bola Ahmed Tinubu hit the ground running from day one, determined to transform the meaning and concept of modern governance, and along that way to demonstrate the nation's commitment towards our food system. He declared a state of emergency in food security and took it as a livelihood item within the purview of the National Security Council. And we had two albatrosses around our necks: subsidy on petroleum and multiple exchange rate system. And we withdrew the subsidy on petroleum from day one, just like President Ruto did in Kenya. And to mitigate the effects of the subsidy removal, the government embarked on immediate release of grains and fertilizers to mitigate the effects of the subsidy removal. A commodity marketing board has been put in place to continuously review and monitor the prices of food items. Nigeria is a diverse country with lots of potentials and diversities. But along this line, the government is making strenuous efforts to activate funding for the entire agricultural value chain. The President has already approved the infusion of huge quantum of funds towards repositioning our security architecture, because we have similar problems with Somalia and Kenya, especially in the northeast and the northwest sub-regions of the country. We are repositioning our security architecture to provide support to farms and farmers.
We'll take a break here and be back with a review of the stock markets. Just stay with us. The NGX sustained its bullish sentiment as trading rallied at the end of second day of trading. Investors capped gains in total of over 4 billion naira as the all-share index also surged by 1.11%. Now, just like yesterday, market breadth remained neutral as the NGX recorded 32 gainers and 30 losers. Now, Ikeja Hotel led the gainers with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 2.97 naira per share, followed by FTN Cocoa Processors. Now, the losing side, Konoy came out last with an end-of-day price appreciation of 10% at 101.25 naira per share, followed by Learn Africa. Now, the end of today's trading session on the Nigeria Stock Exchange, a total of 553.5 million units of shares valued at 7.4 billion naira exchange hands in 8,313 deals. Now, let's switch to some of our select global stocks and see how they performed. Now, save for Asian stock Nikkei, FTSE and Dow Jones continued on its upward trend. US stocks gained on Tuesday amid choppy trading that could see the Dow log a 12-day rally ahead of a rate hike by the Federal Reserve. And that's why you see that FTSE ended at 0.17% in the greens, Dow Jones at 0.22% and Nikkei at 0.056% in the reds. And that's it on business news and stock market review. Back to you, Simisola, for the rest of the news.
Thank you, Folashade, for the update. And in international news, Russia is set to host African leaders this week for a summit aimed at boosting ties, despite concerns in Africa over the conflict in Ukraine and the suspension of a deal on Ukrainian grain exports. The summit is the second of its kind after an inaugural one that was held in 2019 in Sochi, southern Russia. In the last few days, Moscow has sought to reassure African partners, saying it understands their concern after it pulled out of a deal that has allowed Ukrainian grain exports through the Black Sea to global markets, including Africa. The Kremlin has said that without any doubt, it is ready to export grain for free to African countries that need it. President Vladimir Putin added Moscow could return to the agreement, but only if the part of the deal allowing Russian grain and fertilizer is fully implemented. And in sports, still fresh from their commendable opener against Canada and securing a valuable point in a 0-0 draw at the 2023 Women's World Cup, the Super Falcons of Nigeria are set to face co-host Australia in their next match. Australia is in first place with 3 points after the first round of World Cup Group B matches, while Nigeria is in second place with 1 point. Nigerians are optimistic that the Super Falcons will triumph over their counterpart Australia after their outstanding performance against Olympic champion Canada in their first match. Our correspondent Sydney Okafor tells us more in this report.
In terms of dominance, Nigerian Super Falcons have been exceptional when it comes to African football. But so far, the girls have been unable to dominate beyond Africa in areas such as the FIFA Women's World Cup or the Olympic Games. For this year's FIFA Women's World Cup, the Super Falcons have played a goalless draw with Canada in their first match. Their next encounter will be with the rival and co-host who defeated Super Falcons 2-0 on June 12 during the 2015 FIFA Women's World Cup in Canada. Sport analyst Paul Ikawo is confident that the Super Falcons stand a better chance to win against the Matildas if Coach Randy gets his tactical formations right.
When it comes to record at playing at the World Cup, they don't match the Super Falcons. But let's look at pound for pound, player for player, apple for apple. They have a player in Kerr who will not play the second game. Thankfully, I'm happy, yes, as a Nigerian, will not play against Nigeria. But then, with or without this young lady, they still parade a strong squad, a cohesive squad, a group of young, talented, mixed with experienced footballers that can do damage. Now, we did the job against Canada. I don't think we should go and lie down and think that it's all Uhuru yet. So many I's must be dotted and T's must be crossed going into the game against Australia. I feel we stand a very, very good chance against Australia than the Canadians. Maybe not 100%, but I feel the Super Falcons will be more improved attacking-wise against the Australians than the Canadians.
The Australian women will surely have home advantage. Football enthusiasts believe a good fight by the Super Falcons put up against the Matildas will end them a win at the end of the game.
I won't say they are scared, but I would say they are being careful because it's the first match. When you play a host team the first match, you need to be skeptical at the way you go out to attack. You have to go as mass attack and mass defense. At least it's better than playing draw than being beaten by the host country. But probably the next match, I expect them to come out more than the way they have done against Canada.
I want to go out, attack. I want a full attack, full defense, and they should be there.
Nigeria is yet to miss any edition of the tournament since it began in 1991, but have not gone beyond the quarterfinals at the 1999 edition in the United States. However, the second game between Nigeria and Australia at the Women's World Cup in Group B, the match will kick off by 6 a.m. on Thursday, July 27 at Brisbane Suncorp Stadium. Sydney Okafor, TV360 News, Lagos.
That's our package this evening. Thank you for watching. I am Simisola Adigun. Bye for now.